Into the annals of time, there are horrible historical facts that have been relegated to the margins of our collective consciousness. These are the stories judged too upsetting or uncomfortable to share openly. From forgotten massacres to secret conspiracies, history has built a web of secrets that throws to question our capacity for both greatness and cruelty. As we shine a light on these obscured truths, we face the difficult reality of our past and consider the significant impact of silence on our perspective of the world. Number 1. Little Ice Age. While the historical narrative often emphasizes political conflicts and cultural transformations, the Little Ice Age, spanning from around 1300 to 1850 AD, brought profound and far-reaching climatic shifts. This period marked a significant decrease in temperatures across the Northern Hemisphere, altering the course of history not just in Europe, but around the globe. Societies adapted by favoring cold-resistant crops like rye and barley over traditional wheat, leading to widespread famines and testing societal resilience. The cooling climate fostered not only a change in agricultural strategy, but also triggered a shift in economic dynamics. As traditional crops failed, the demand for alternative food sources and heating methods surged, reshaping industries and trade routes. This economic upheaval, coupled with the challenge of feeding a growing population, led to widespread social instability. The health implications of this climatic anomaly were severe. The colder temperatures contributed to higher mortality rates, driven by malnutrition and the rampant spread of diseases. These conditions were not confined to Europe. The Little Ice Age's grip reached as far as North America and Asia, where similar adversities were faced. Communities around the world grappled with the impact of cooler climates on agriculture, health, and societal structures. The reasons behind this prolonged period of cooling include a mix of volcanic activity, diminished solar radiation, and changes in oceanic circulation, compounded possibly by human activities such as deforestation and land use changes. Globally, the Little Ice Age serves as a stark reminder of climate's influence on human civilization. Just a quick moment before we unveil the rest. If you're not already part of our incredible community, consider subscribing to this channel. Stay up to date and never miss out on the latest insights. And now, let's go on. Number 2. The Opium Wars in China. The mid-19th century was a transformative era in modern Chinese history, primarily due to the Opium Wars. The initial conflict, spanning from 1839 to 1842, saw China clashing with Great Britain, and the subsequent war from 1856 to 1860 involved a beleaguered China against both Great Britain and France. The culmination of these conflicts resulted in China's defeat and the imposition of severe concessions, including the cession of Hong Kong to British control, the opening of treaty ports to international trade, and the extension of special privileges to foreigners within these ports. Additionally, these wars facilitated a surge in British opium sales in China, justified under the principles of free trade, yet wreaking havoc on the socio-economic stability of the Chinese nation. The Opium Wars wrought economic havoc on China, reversing trade balances and causing significant silver depletion. This exacerbated financial strains on the Qing dynasty and exposed the economy to foreign exploitation. Opium addiction devastated China's social fabric, undermining public health and societal cohesion. The epidemic eroded family structures and economic productivity, casting a shadow over the nation's social development. Opinions on Britain's motives for the Opium Wars differ, seen either as a push for free trade or a bid for supremacy. For China, the wars marked the start of the century of humiliation, fueling resistance against foreign dominance and inspiring revolutionary change. Today, the Opium Wars are remembered as stark lessons in the consequences of falling behind in a world predicated on domination and control. Number 3. The Great Emu War of Australia. In the early 1930s, Australia witnessed an unconventional clash known as the Great Emu War. Post-World War I, the country faced an agricultural dilemma, worsened by an unlikely foe: emus. These large, flightless birds were drawn to the wheat fields of Western Australian farms, causing significant crop damage. Many of these farmers were veterans who had settled the lands as part of a post-war government initiative, only to find themselves battling against nature's own forces as their crops suffered extensive damage. In an act of desperation, these beleaguered settlers sought assistance from the Australian government. which responded by deploying military forces equipped with machine guns in an attempt to curtail the emu population. Yet the campaign quickly turned into a lesson in the unpredictability of nature, as the emus, with their surprising speed and agility, evaded the soldiers' efforts with ease. The operation's failure, compounded by public disapproval of the military's methods, led to its cessation. The subsequent adoption of a bounty system marked a shift in strategy and eventually proved more effective in managing the emu numbers. This peculiar chapter of Australian history not only highlights the unpredictable challenges of agricultural management, but also underscores the complexities of human-animal conflicts. Number 4. The Library of Alexandria and the Loss of Knowledge. In ancient Egypt, amidst the sprawling sands and towering pyramids, stood the Library of Alexandria, a beacon of knowledge and cultural unity, far surpassing any other repository of its time. With its foundations laid in the 3rd century BCE, this emblem of Hellenistic enlightenment became a magnet for scholars across the Mediterranean. They congregated in Alexandria, Egypt, drawn by the library's promise of intellectual growth and exchange. Housing an estimated collection of between 40,000 to 400,000 scrolls, the library boasted an unparalleled accumulation of human knowledge, from philosophy and history to mathematics and astronomy. The significance of the Library of Alexandria transcended its vast compilations of scrolls. It embodied the zenith of intellectual achievement, facilitating the cross-fertilization of ideas and spearheading advancements across various disciplines. It was not just a repository, but a vibrant center of learning, attracting the era's most esteemed thinkers. Yet, this bastion of knowledge was not immune to the vicissitudes of history. It faced several calamities, notably a devastating fire during Julius Caesar's military campaign in 48 BCE, which led to the loss of countless texts. Subsequent centuries saw further upheavals that eroded its collections, with historians suggesting varied events contributing to its decline. The culmination of its destruction, often linked to the ascent of the Christian Roman Empire and the fading of pagan institutions, remains a topic of scholarly debate. The obliteration of the Library of Alexandria is a somber chapter in the annals of cultural history, symbolizing the fragility of knowledge. Number 5. The Siege of Leningrad. The Siege of Leningrad stands as a testament to the resilience and suffering of the Soviet city now known as St. Petersburg, during one of World War II's most grueling confrontations on the Eastern Front. Commencing on September 8, 1941, the Axis powers, led by the Nazi army, encircled the city, aiming to capitulate Leningrad into surrender. Despite their efforts, the city's defenders and residents endured. Over the course of 872 days, German and Finnish troops cut off nearly all supplies to Leningrad, leaving a precarious lifeline across the icy expanse of Lake Ladoga, the only thread connecting the city to the wider world. Leningrad's strategic importance to the Axis powers lay not just in its vast industrial capabilities, but also in its symbolic value as the cradle of the Russian Revolution, marking it a prime target for German aggression. The siege induced one of history's most severe famines, drastically reducing the city's population to under 800,000 from an initial figure nearing 3 million. The cruel winter exacerbated the ordeal, stripping away the essentials of survival: food, fuel, and warmth, forcing the populace into desperate measures for sustenance, including the documented resort to cannibalism among over 2,000 cases. The blockade, remembered as one of the longest and most catastrophic in history, left an indelible mark of immense human loss and suffering. Number 6. Belgium's atrocities in the Congo Free State. From 1885 to 1908, the Congo Free State, known today as the Democratic Republic of Congo, endured a harrowing era of colonial exploitation under the dominion of King Leopold II of Belgium. Despite never personally visiting the territory, Leopold managed the region as his private estate, overseeing a catastrophic period that led to the deaths of millions of its inhabitants. Driven by the desire to amass wealth from the Congo's abundant rubber and ivory, he instituted a merciless system of forced labor. Under this regime, Congolese of all ages were compelled to collect rubber in the wild, subjected to barbaric punishments including whipping, mutilation, or worse for failing to meet extraction quotas. The extent of human rights abuses during this time was appalling. These acts of cruelty were part of a larger strategy to terrorize the population into submission and maximize economic extraction. The international community remained largely unaware of the scale of atrocities until the concerted efforts of campaigners like Edmund Dean Morel and Roger Casement brought them to light. The Congo Reform Association, led by Morel, and the publication of the Casement Report in 1904 were pivotal in exposing the abuses and galvanizing global opposition to Leopold's rule. These advocacy efforts culminated in significant international pressure, compelling Belgium to annex the territory in 1908, thereby ending Leopold's direct control. However, the legacy of exploitation left the Congo deeply scarred, with its population decimated and its resources plundered. Number 7. Shadows of the Dead. World War II, the most harrowing and pivotal event in human history, left an indelible mark not just through the conflict itself, but also in its haunting aftermath. The war's course took a grim turn with the United States Army's atomic bombings on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Amidst the catastrophic aftermath, residents encountered a chilling phenomenon: the emergence of black shadows etched onto surfaces by the blinding light of the nuclear explosion. These spectral silhouettes, known as the shadows of the dead, captured the last moments of people, objects, and everyday scenes instantly vaporized in the blast. Children beside their bicycles, couples alongside their cars. Formed by the intense light radiation, these shadows occurred when the nuclear explosion's radiant energy altered the color and properties of surfaces, leaving behind the dark imprints of those who blocked this light. Survivors of the bombings endured profound long-term effects. Beyond the immediate physical injuries, they faced lingering psychological trauma and societal stigma, their lives forever shadowed by the memory and physical scars of that day. In the decades since, efforts have been made to preserve these haunting shadows within Hiroshima and Nagasaki's peace memorials. These preservation efforts serve not only as a testament to the tragedies endured, but also as vital educational tools. They stand as poignant reminders of the destructive power of nuclear weapons, compelling future generations to reflect on the horrors of war and the enduring importance of peace. Number 8. The Tuskegee Syphilis Study. In 1932, the United States Public Health Service initiated one of the most ethically compromised medical studies in history, targeting African American men in Tuskegee, Alabama, to track the untreated progression of syphilis. This study involved over 600 poor farmers, misleading them about their health status and falsely promising treatment for their bad blood, a vague term for various health conditions. In stark reality, these men, about 2/3 of whom were battling syphilis, received no effective care. The advent of penicillin in the 1940s, a breakthrough treatment for syphilis, did not alter their course. The participants were deliberately kept from accessing this life-saving antibiotic. Rooted in a time when racial discrimination was both systemic and endemic in the United States, the Tuskegee study exploited racial inequalities prevalent in medical research and healthcare. The devastating repercussions were profound and tragic, with many participants suffering from severe health complications or death, affecting not just themselves, but also their spouses and children through disease transmission. It wasn't until a media revelation in 1972 that the study came to an abrupt halt, marking an end to 4 decades of deceit. The exposure of the Tuskegee Syphilis study acted as a catalyst for significant ethical reforms in medical research. In its aftermath, documents like the Belmont Report outlined foundational ethical principles for conducting research involving human subjects. Moreover, the establishment of institutional review boards became a standard requirement, tasked with reviewing and approving research to ensure ethical standards are met, safeguarding participants from exploitation and harm. Number 9. The Chinese Massacre in the United States. On October 24, 1871, Los Angeles witnessed a devastating race riot against its Chinese community, fueled by anti-Chinese sentiment and economic envy. More than 500 residents violently attacked Chinatown, leading to the deaths of 19 Chinese immigrants by night's end. The violence was triggered by a conflict within the Chinese community that accidentally killed a white man, Robert Thompson, escalating existing racial tensions. A diverse mob, including businessmen and law enforcement, participated in the chaos, looting and lynching 15 individuals, leaving a chilling mark on the city. This massacre occurred against a backdrop of widespread anti-Chinese sentiment in the late 19th century, fueled by economic downturns and job scarcity, which led to intensified competition and racial animosity towards Chinese immigrants. The events of that night had a profound and lasting impact on Los Angeles's Chinese community, decimating their population in the area and significantly affecting Chinese immigration and settlement patterns across the United States. It underscored the precarious position of Chinese immigrants who faced not only immediate physical dangers, but also systemic barriers to justice and equity. In the aftermath, despite the overt violence and the clear victims, only 10 men were charged with manslaughter. Yet, due to prevailing racial prejudices that discredited Chinese testimonies, all were acquitted, highlighting the deep-seated racial injustices of the time. Number 10. Witch trials in Europe. Between the 15th and 18th centuries, Europe found itself ensnared in the throes of witch hunting, a frenzy driven by fear, superstition, and an unyielding religious zeal. This period, often referred to as the Burning Times or the Great Hunt, was marked by a series of witch trials that led to the execution of an estimated 40,000 to 60,000 individuals. Predominantly women, these trials were not just about punishing the accused. They served as a mechanism to control and suppress those who deviated from or posed a threat to the prevailing societal norms. The spike in witch trials was significantly influenced by the socio-political and economic turmoil of the era, with Europe facing social unrest, wars, famines, and diseases. These adversities often led to increased witchcraft accusations as communities sought scapegoats for their troubles. Accusations of witchcraft often rested on flimsy or concocted evidence. The accused faced convictions extracted through torture, confessing to consorting with the devil, practicing maleficium, harmful magic, or attending witches' sabbaths. The sentences were severe, burning at the stake, hanging, or drowning, reflecting the grim fates of those caught in the hysteria. As history's dark chapter, the witch trials underscore the dangers of mass hysteria, judicial injustice, and the devastating effects of societal panic. Number 11. The Partition of India and Pakistan. In 1947, the British Indian Empire was dramatically split into India and Pakistan, not merely altering maps, but splitting communities along religious lines and causing a major migration. The abrupt division, which overlooked decades of communal cohabitation, caused significant upheaval. With the Radcliffe Line hastily delineating new borders, fear and uncertainty drove Hindus, Sikhs, and Muslims to flee, fearing they were on the wrong side of the divide. This exodus quickly spiraled into violence, with mobs rampaging and trains carrying refugees becoming scenes of unimaginable carnage. The seeds of this division were sown by rising tensions between Hindus and Muslims, amplified by the All India Muslim League's persistent calls for a separate Muslim homeland. These demands, set against the backdrop of an impending British exit, fractured the unity of the subcontinent, leading to the inexorable slide into partition. The legacy of this seismic event has been enduring and profound, shaping the subcontinent's destiny in ways unimaginable. The partition birthed not only geopolitical rivals, India and Pakistan, but also sowed the seeds for the protracted Kashmir conflict, a source of incessant tension and military confrontations between the two nations. Moreover, it irrevocably altered communal relations within the subcontinent, casting long shadows over the social fabric of both nations. Number 12. Unraveling over 600 plots against Fidel Castro's life. Fidel Castro, Cuba's emblematic leader, navigated through a labyrinth of over 600 alleged attempts on his life, a testament to his contentious tenure at the helm of Cuban politics. While the precise number remains part of the legend surrounding his legacy, the array of plots against him underscores the constant peril he lived under.
El triunfo democrático de la revolución.
These attempts spanned from the clandestine maneuvers of intelligence agencies to bold, direct schemes, illustrating the relentless efforts to undermine his rule. Among the myriad plots were innovative tactics such as poisoning his cigars with lethal botulinum toxin in 1960, contaminating his dive suit, orchestrating sniper attacks, and even plans to detonate explosives during his public appearances. The backdrop to this relentless pursuit was Castro's radical policies and firm socialist stance, which put him at war with the United States and its allies throughout the Cold War. His revolutionary passion and unrelenting support for anti-imperialist movements around the world increased his opponents' anger and determination to bring him down. Remarkably, Castro's longevity can be partly attributed to the stringent security measures and protocols he put in place. His survival strategy involved elaborate personal security measures and the effective functioning of Cuban intelligence, which played a pivotal role in foiling many of the plots against him. Castro's uncanny ability to evade harm allowed him to lead Cuba through decades of geopolitical storms, maintaining his vision for the island nation amidst attempts on his life. Number 13. The government once poisoned alcohol. In 1926, during Prohibition, the United States government took a controversial step to reduce alcohol use. This period, marked by the 18th Amendment's enactment in 1920 and enforced by the Volstead Act, saw the rise of a noble experiment that took a dark turn. The strategy, intentionally spiking industrial alcohol with lethal substances like methanol, aiming to deter drinkers with the threat of poison. It was a dramatic move that reflected the era's harsh position on drinking. However, the strategy failed terribly. Rather than deterring the thirsty masses, this move only fueled their resolve. People went to great lengths to get their dose, dodging the deadly additives or seeking out less hazardous homemade brews. The consequences were catastrophic. By 1927, Bellevue Hospital in New York noted 41 deaths from poisonings, hinting at the broader tragedy that unfolded until Prohibition's end in 1933, with death toll estimates nearing 10,000. Beyond the fatalities, survivors faced debilitating health effects, such as blindness and chronic illnesses, marking them for life. Public reaction was a blend of anger and resilience. Many sought safer alcohol sources, while others braved the risks of poisoned drinks, highlighting the era's defiance. This chapter of history underscores the severe impacts of Prohibition, showcasing the extremes people will face under restrictive policies and the lasting damage of such governmental missteps.